Hello, my wonderful second grade art students. Today what we are going to do is we are going to go through the planning sheet for your WOW project. Now, a WOW project is a wonderful, original work of art, and that's what you're going to create. Now, the very first thing when you get your WOW planning sheet is you need to, at the very top, write your first name, your last name, and your class code. Now, we are still focusing on line vocabulary, okay? But we are going to be following a specific theme this time with your idea for your project. So this theme is called a recipe for a great life. And if you look here on the side of your WOW planning sheet, it tells you the theme, a recipe for a great life. So what I want you to do before you even start thinking and planning is keep that theme in mind. So when Mrs. Sosa was thinking, what makes my life great? What things would I say are important in my life? And without them, my life would be rather boring and blah. So what I did is I thought in my head and I brainstormed some ideas. Well, my kids make me happy. My art and art making make me happy. So when you have those ideas in your head, then what you're going to do is you are going to go to the very first box here at the top. In box 1, I drew a sketch. I drew a picture of myself with a mixing bowl because we're making a recipe. So it made me think of cooking. So I also included a spoon and a whisk. And if you look at my picture closely, you can see my 4 children. And I drew a heart to show that I love them. And then a paintbrush and a pencil. Okay, so when you are done with drawing number 1, your first thumbnail sketch, so notice I have nothing in box 2. I've only drawn in box 1. You are then going to find a friend to tag, and that's this section here in the middle bottom column. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a friend. Your friend is going to write their name in this box. So you're going to go visit Joe. Joe is sitting at your table. Joe is going to follow these steps. Tell, ask, give. That's what TAG stands for. So in number 1, Joe is going to tell me something that he likes about my drawing. So when Joe looks at this drawing, he might say, oh, I like how you used spoon and whisk and mixing bowl to show that it's a recipe, like it's like food, but it's not food. It's things that make your life great, but it's still a recipe. Step 2, Joe then needs to ask me a question about my drawing. I see that you used wavy lines here. Joe might ask, why did you use wavy lines on the bowl? And then I can answer Joe and say, well, we're supposed to pick a line to focus on from this list, and I decided I wanted to focus on wavy lines. Okay, that can then be crossed off. Step 3, Joe then give me an idea. So he can look at my art and say, I see that you have a spoon and a whisk, but I don't see any hands holding the spoon and whisk. Where are your hands? Could you add hands so that they're holding the supplies that you're using to mix your recipe? And I would say, sure, that's a great idea. So then I could add those to step 2. So now what I'm going to do is take those questions and ideas that I got from Joe, and then I can work on drawing 2. Okay, so if you remember, I took the ideas from my conversation with Joe during TAG, tell, ask, and give. So he told me one thing he liked, he asked me one question, and then he gave me an idea. So I took our conversation and I changed my second drawing a little bit. So if you notice here, I thought it was a little boring around my person, so I added a line, vertical lines, to create wallpaper. And then I placed my bowl on a table, so it looked like I was working somewhere like a kitchen. And then, remember I said Joe asked why I didn't have any hands, so I added hands, one holding the bowl and one holding the spoon. And then I made my bowl a little bit bigger so I could fit my children inside the mixing bowl. And I also added an apron, because as you know, Mrs. Sosa always wears an apron, especially on messy paint days. Once you have the second plan done, I want you to look at plan number 1 and plan number 2 and decide which plan is the best. And then what I want you to do is circle the number of the one you like best. I think my number 2 is much better than my number 1 plan. I think it has more details, and I think it clearly explains a recipe for a great life for Mrs. Sosa. Now, I also want to make sure that I'm focusing on some of our lines that we've been practicing in our station. So if you notice, I have vertical lines, so I could circle those. I also used some curved lines here when I made my bowl, the top and the bottom rim, and the lines that decorate the bowl are curved lines, so I can circle curved lines as well. Okay. Now, this middle section says teacher feedback. So that is for me to talk to you, and I will provide some feedback. So you and I will be meeting when I return, and we will be discussing your plan for your WOW project. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to ask the substitute, but let's just quickly go through the steps one more time. You should have written your first name, last name, and class code in the box. You then should have planned an idea from the theme for this WOW project, which is a recipe for a great life. And if you forget what that theme is, it's right here along the side of our boxes. Once you're done with drawing one, then you're going to tag a friend. That friend needs to write their name right here in this box. And they're going to then tell you one thing they like about this drawing in drawing one. They're then going to ask you a question about this drawing. And then they're going to give you an idea to use for this drawing. Once you've tagged someone, then you can move on to drawing two, taking those ideas that you discussed with your tag friend. Okay, I hope you have fun. I hope you come up with great ideas. I can't wait to see them when I return.